Welcome to the Banfield Report of the 15th of June 2011. My name is Max Banfield. I've had the chronic fatigue syndrome for more than 30 years, and during that time there have been numerous occasions when for several months I've been extremely exhausted, sometimes to the extent that I've had difficulty with such basic activities as walking. There have also been numerous occasions when for several months I've experienced quite severe pain, and those problems weren't responding to any forms of treatment that are available, so I've acquired an interest in medicine and have developed methods of managing those problems. Consequently, nowadays I don't experience those symptoms to any severe degree. However, today I'd like to talk about a form of breathing abnormality that is common in a type of chronic fatigue syndrome. In order to proceed, I'll demonstrate that abnormality. Now you would have seen that one of those breaths was more forceful, it was deeper, and it ended suddenly. And patients will describe that situation where they feel as if they haven't got enough air, and so they will breathe more deeply than usual, and sometimes I'll say they feel as if they're breathing against an obstruction. And that presents two questions. Why do they feel as if they're breathing against an obstruction, and why do they need the extra air? In order to explain that, I first of all need to describe the natural process of breathing. And this occurs behind a layer of skin, so unless you've read books of anatomy, you may not be aware of it. So I'll just step back and explain that to you in a manner that might make it clear. The human body is divided into two major cavities, the chest and the abdomen, and they're separated by a large, broad, roughly dome-shaped muscle called the diaphragm, which is the primary breathing muscle. There are a few holes in it. For example, one takes the food pipe through to the stomach, but other than that it completely separates these cavities. The heart is in the middle and the lungs are on either side, and the lungs are elastic, so they're like a rubber band. If you stretch them, they'll return to their original position. And this large breathing muscle contracts and increases the size of the chest, and therefore produces a vacuum which draws air in through the nose and into the lungs. You relax this muscle, and then the lungs are attached to it and they're elastic, so they will draw it up, and as it proceeds upwards, it pushes air out of the lungs and out through the nose. So breathing is accomplished by contracting this muscle to breathe in and relaxing it to breathe out. Now, if you need extra air, you can actually put more force into the contraction of this muscle, and that will increase the chest space somewhat, and you will actually get some extra air, but there's a limit to how much extra air you can get, and that's why the person feels as if they're breathing against an obstruction. When you relax that muscle, it will be drawn up, and then you can resume taking the full respiratory cycle, the full breathing process. Having said that, the next question is, why do CFS patients feel as if they need the extra air? Well, numerous research studies have shown that the breathing of chronic fatigue patients is abnormal, it's inefficient, and this is all the way through breathing in, getting the oxygen into your blood and then out through the lungs again. And this breathing inefficiency occurs it becomes more inefficient as the level of exercise increases. And I'll show you how that presents itself in general living. During any day, I may have to take these deeper breaths, perhaps 50, 100 times a day. I don't count. It's just something that's necessary, and so I may occasionally breathe like this. And on other occasions I might feel I need more air, so I'll place my hands on my hips for more leverage, and I'll force the breath a bit more. I just keep breathing normally. That can go on, as I say, 50, 100 times a day. Now, the sorts of things that alter the frequency of that are such things as walking, and even brisk walking, or even fast walking, in which case it might be necessary to take more of those breaths. And sometimes, occasionally, to take more forceful breaths, but as a general rule, that's not necessary until I start jogging, and I'll show you the difference. Walking is a smooth action, and jogging it's a slightly different action, and what happens is you're lifting your entire body weight off the ground with every step. It requires more energy, and for a healthy person that doesn't matter. But if I go jogging, I get about 50 yards and I need to take some more forceful breaths, and I'll show you how I do that. I'll place my hands on my knees, I'll stop, place my hands on my knees, straighten my back, and then gain leverage over my breathing muscles and force a breath like this. I still might not feel as if I haven't got enough air, so I'll do that twice. And I may even do that 3 times. The reason I don't do it any more than that, I find any further, any 4th or 5th breath is a waste of time. I may then proceed with jogging and get another 10 yards, have to stop, take another forced breath, and then continue for another 50 yards. I'll then stop, take some more forced breaths, 1, 2 or 3, and then continue. A point will be reached when I feel I still haven't got enough air, so I'll stop and I'll walk. And the breathing efficiency combined with those deeper breaths seems to be enough to enable me to feel more comfortable with my breathing again. I'll stop and then I'll take some forced breaths and start jogging again. So if I'm to do a standard exercise course, I'll jog, stop, take some extra breath, jog, stop, walk, stop, jog, stop, walk, etc. and continue for a distance maybe a mile, mile and a half. The next level of exercise is sprinting, and this is where you go from stationary to rapid speed very quickly, and the breathing abnormality becomes greater as that proceeds, and I find that at some point, probably 30 or 40 yards, I'll start gasping for breath, and that will be accompanied by some other symptoms. I may continue some forced deep breaths for 5 or 10 minutes until I feel as if I've got enough air again. So I hope I've explained these things, why the person feels as if they're breathing against an obstruction, why they need these extra breaths throughout the day, and why the frequency or the nature of those extra those deeper breaths changes with the level of exercise. I'd also like to clarify some confusion. Some people think this is just like yawning, it's quite different. Some people confuse it with asthma. Well, asthma involves problems with the bronchial tubes, and it's a wheezing sensation. Some people think this is the normal symptoms of exercise. Well, I played a lot of sport when I was young. Before I developed chronic fatigue syndrome, I know what the normal symptoms of exercise are, and so do most people, and these are quite different. And some people say it's just a panic-induced hyperventilation. Well, those situations are described as a person panics, breathes rapidly and gets dizzy. Well, that's not how it happens in my experience with chronic fatigue syndrome. It's quite different. So I hope I've clarified those matters. Now in future I plan to do some videos on chronic fatigue syndrome and the faintness, how to manage it, how to manage or understand manage the various chest pains, and also perhaps some more information on exercise in CFS, and how to exercise effectively and safely, if that's what you want to do. Okay, at this stage I'd like to point out that some of the information I've given is standard knowledge, but a lot of it is based on my detailed observation of symptoms and how to manage it, and as such is my copyright. So if you discuss or write about these ideas, please acknowledge the source. Other than that, I thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting and informative. My name is Max Banfield, and this has been the Banfield Report of the 15th of June 2011.